I suggested that we give everybody an additional few minutes so they can arrive. So we won't start at 5:30.
So maybe about 5 minutes or so. Mhm.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's my pleasure, Teresa. Hi, Madeline.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Nice to see you. Nice to see
Always
you.
nice to see you.
Thank you.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Nice to see you.
You too.
Always.
So excited.
It'll be a good one. We're just going to give everybody a few additional minutes to get in and get settled before we begin.
Judy, are you okay with people eating their dinner since this is dinner time during this?
Please. No,
Okay,
go,
guys,
go right ahead.
grab your dinner. Eat along with Judy.
I do
It'll
not
be
mind
like we're
at
having
all.
one big dinner together. Won't that be nice?
Exactly. It's like a brown bag lunch.
Yeah.
Thea, I'm still co-host, yes? Okay, awesome.
We'll just give a few more minutes. Hi.
Hello. Hi, Miss Claudia. I can see you.
Sorry, I didn't know we were unmuted. Let me mute.
Hello, Alani.
Hi,
Alani.
Alani.
My name. I didn't hear you.
How do you guys know my name?
I think it's
Everybody
because you're just
knows your name.
special.
Because your mommy loves you so much, she talks about you great things. You really do?
Yeah.
You're
Judy, just to let you know, myself and a couple of other people that have emailed me did not get the Zoom link.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
It got the e-invite, but not the Zoom link. So I don't know what the process was, or if I
Okay.
messed something up.
Thea, do you think you can send that?
I did send it to the staff that I didn't. I'll send it to all
Okay.
the staff.
Awesome.
You
Thank you,
received
Lily.
the email from me, correct? Okay.
I did, Tia. Yeah.
Okay.
I did too. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if maybe it just went to the spam since I'm new.
That could be.
I'll forward Maria's email to me.
Hi, Lily.
Claudia, we don't need to
Yeah.
mute. We want to hear your voices.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Are you sure? Because, she's a talker.
Well, I'm going to be actually, she might be the star of the show because I'm going to be asking questions. And if, she would like to respond, please. This is an open forum for all of us, so I would love for that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. You're okay.
Okay. So maybe another minute, Judy.
Yeah, that'd be fine, Gabby.
Stephanie, do you have your little one with you? He can join. Introduce him to Alani.
Absolutely.
Hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, I don't know his name. I'm sorry.
Say your name.
Elias.
Elias.
Elias and Alani. Hoo-hoo.
Okay, so I have another star for the evening. This is going to be a great night. Okay, Miss Gabby, we're at 5:35.
Sounds good.
Shall
So
we jump
welcome
in?
everyone. Yeah, let's jump
Okay.
in.
Awesome.
So welcome everyone. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna lead, I hope, to a lot of discussion. And it's like Judy said, it's an open forum. So please join in. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask or put them in the chat. So it's good to see you guys all here tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Gabriela Segura. I'm the project manager for Partnerships for Families and Domestic Violence Services at Penny Lane Centers. And we have with us today Judy Grant, who is our speaker for today. She is the Director of Equity and Inclusion at Penny Lane Centers. Judy is a licensed marriage and family therapist and has experience working with families and individuals and couples to help them gain insight through therapy. In Judy's role as the Director of Equity and Inclusion, she hopes to spread awareness on issues related to racial justice and create an inclusive environment for all. Judy is also a professor of child and family studies at Cal State LA and is a certified domestic violence counselor. So I am very happy that she gets to join us today to have this great, wonderful discussion. So take it away, Judy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gabby. Wow, when you read all of that, it sounds really fancy. But at the end of the day, we're all learning together. I might be the one speaking about this topic, but I really want to encourage input from everybody because we learn together. And so I'm just really happy to be here this evening to be able to share parenting anti-racist children and figuring out what in the heck that means. So a few logistical things before we get started. I want to let you know that we are recording this. Just a heads up, and we will likely be able to share this with others who maybe weren't able to join us this evening. So it is being recorded. We are also doing a raffle throughout this evening's event. So Thea, who is here with us, will be randomly selecting participants every 15 minutes, and those participants will receive a fancy little package from Amazon that will arrive to them at their doorstep. Now, if you are indeed chosen as one of the raffle winners, Thea will reach out to you to get your home address where these items can be sent directly to you. So listen for her because she'll be interrupting and Judy, we've got a winner, and it might just be you. So we're looking forward to that part of the evening. Additionally, I wanted to say that it's so important to have the engagement from everybody. It really adds to the conversation and creates such a wonderful dynamic when we have everybody talking about these issues together. I don't want to be here lecturing everybody for the next hour and a half or so. I want to engage in conversation. Okay, you and I together are going to make this a really special evening. Okay, so again, super happy to be here, and let's jump in. How's that, Gabby? You
Sounds-
ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, whoops, we're at the wrong slide. Okay, so again, today we're here to talk about parenting anti-racist children. Now, the kids that are on with us, some of this might be a little bit like, what is she talking about? So some is definitely more for the parents, but we're definitely going to get to you. So just hold still. And if you have any questions about maybe some of these big words that I might be using, let me know and I'm happy to explain, okay? All
So,
right. So
Judy-
tonight, yes?
I'm sorry, Judy, we can't see your slide. We're seeing your Penny Lane
Really?
screen right now. Mhm.
Okay, so let me stop sharing and then let me go back to it. Thank you, Gab.
Okay.
I was just ready to jump on in. Okay, can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so our agenda for this evening. Well, Gabby and I welcomed each of you. We introduced ourselves. We're going to talk about the vision for tonight. We're going to talk about what it is to be anti-racist. We're going to follow that by talking about early learning and the young brain and its amazing capabilities when our children are young. I'm going to share with you some information from a student-led study that was conducted by some of my students at Cal State LA. We're going to define diversity. We're going to talk about how to expose our kids to diversity. We're going to look at differences. What do you see at your school, in your neighborhood? Let's talk to our kids about the differences they see and how we can embrace those differences. We're going to look at movies and books and videos and TV that can be helpful resources to all of you. I'm also going to share a little bit from Britt Hawthorne, who is an anti-racist, anti-bias educator. I stumbled across her through one of the authors that I follow, and I felt like her information would be very worthwhile to share with all of you this evening. And then we're going to read a story called Strictly No Elephants. And following that story, I would love to have some discussion with all of you. And again, remember, we're going to have raffle winners throughout the evening. So our vision for this evening is for this event to provide information to support parents as they teach their children about anti-racism and inclusion. We're going to find out what diversity is. We're going to talk about a little bit about discrimination, but more importantly, we're going to talk about how to embrace all of our differences, because it's our differences that make us special, make us unique, and we can share that and celebrate that with one another. So, anti-racist. Gabby, help me out here.
You know, Judy, I was about to, actually ask you, because I've heard this term a lot, anti-racist. I've heard it used a few times. So what is the difference between anti-racist and non-racist?
Okay, thank you. Gabby, you teed that up perfectly, because you'll see here on this next slide, it says just that up top. What is the difference between being non-racist and anti-racist? Okay, so you're right. This is kind of a newfangled term that people are using, right, as they talk about these issues. So let me first explain non-racist, and then we'll talk about anti-racist. And I have a great example. So for somebody that considers themselves to be non-racist, they have a thought, they have a feeling, they have a belief that says, I'm against all things racism. And those thoughts and beliefs are fabulous to have. But being non-racist right now is not enough to eliminate racism. What we need to do is take those thoughts and beliefs and put them into action. It's not until we add action to these thoughts and beliefs that we become anti-racist. By adding the action, we're saying that I am actively going to do something to resist racism. I am going to speak up when I hear something being offensive that's overheard. I'm going to stand up for somebody that might be experiencing some sort of discriminatory practice or behaviors. So anti-racism is rooted in action that challenges those racist practices. So an example of this, so I admit it, I fall down that TikTok rabbit hole, and I often find things related to racial and social justice issues, but this one really stood out to me. So, and remember, non-racist, thoughts and beliefs, but no action; anti-racist, same thoughts and beliefs, but now with action. So this TikTok, this gentleman driving an Uber, a Lyft, something like that, who appears to be a white gentleman, arrives to pick up his ride. So this woman enters the car, and she appears to be a white woman, and she says to him, and I'm not going to get this exactly right, but she says to him, "Oh, good, you're a white guy. You're just a normal white guy that speaks English." Now, this young man immediately turned to her and said, "That's not okay. That's offensive. That's racist. Get out of my car. Get out of my car." This then led to more conversation, as you can imagine, from the passenger that he was picking up. And it actually led to threatening words, a lot of cursing towards this young man, because he was actively standing up and saying, "This is not okay. This is not okay." He could have sat there and taken the ride and not said anything. I'm sorry, I hear an echo.
Ironically, it's your voice.
Yeah.
Ironically, it's your voice.
Yeah.
Ironically, it's your voice.
Is everybody hearing that?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm here, but I think everybody needs to go on mute except for maybe for Judy Grant, maybe. If we all
Okay.
go on mute, maybe that'll help.
Okay, yes, please. Thank you, Teresa. So this
Judy, I'm so
Judy.
sorry. I muted everybody and that included you.
there we go. Okay, so we're back. So this gentleman engages in this conversation with this woman in a very anti-racist way. He could have easily accepted the ride, not agreed with her, but said nothing. He could have remained silent, because guess what? He was going to make money off of this woman, but he decided, "I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take action. I'm going to be anti-racist. I want these people out of my car." Gabby, any thoughts or feelings about that?
Yeah, I do. I remember seeing that video, and it was so impactful for me because for a variety of reasons. Number one, how comfortable she was in expressing that, right? And how she really wasn't aware how racist that was and how inappropriate that comment was. It also made me think of like that he may have been a Caucasian male, so maybe that's why she felt comfortable in expressing those sentiments. But just his quick reaction, and how we have to call it out. We have to, and in that moment, he was losing quite a bit, right? He was losing potentially income. He was, he didn't know if he was putting himself, in harm's way, because there was a couple of people that were gonna, get into his vehicle, but he chose to take action anyways. So it was really a powerful video. I did see it, and I remember, it's left a lasting impression. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Gabby. So does everybody understand the difference now between non-racist and anti-racist? We're all good with that? Okay, so that's what we're aiming to be, anti-racist. So let's talk about our kids. Those early teachers, early learning. So Gabby, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Who taught you to brush your teeth?
My parents, my mom specifically, because she was a stay-at-home mom for a little bit. So she, was very adamant with us about brushing our teeth regularly. And, so we had a schedule and everything. So it was her. Yeah.
Okay, and the same for washing your hands and saying please and thank you?
Yes, yes. My dad was also very much involved in making sure that we were polite and that we said our please, our thank yous, greeted everyone as we, if we went on a visit to an aunt's house or to grandma's house.
Mhm.
So, yes.
So from an early age, sounds like they instilled a lot of values in you.
Yes, from a very early age. Mhm.
Okay, okay. Like you, my parents taught me how to wash my hands, brush my teeth, make my bed, the whole kit and caboodle. Let me follow up. Have you ever forgotten how to say please and thank you?
Nope,
Why do
never.
you think that is?
I think because it was repeated so many times, we started from an early age. It was something very consistent,
Mhm.
and I saw them doing it too.
Right. Okay. So that message was constantly being reinforced in your home each and every day. So
Mhm.
now you're an adult, but you still know that saying please and thank you is the right thing to do.
That's
Okay.
right.
Keep that in mind. Okay. So our children are sponges. They are eager for information. They are eager to learn. And it's something that's actually going on in their brain that makes them so incredibly receptive. I'm going to share a story about my daughter, Maxine. When I had her and she first went to daycare, I sent her to a Russian daycare, Russian preschool. My daughter comes home and she's speaking Russian to me. I don't know what she's saying, but I know that her daycare teacher, Lena, was so very proud of the fact that Maxine was speaking Russian. So her brain was at a place where she was just receptive to the language that she heard, that she picked it up very easily, right? As time went on and she moved out of that preschool and went to another, nobody's teaching her Russian, no, the words aren't being reinforced. I don't know enough to share with her. She begins to forget it. Okay, because it was not constantly being drilled into her mind the way Gabby's parents constantly drilled into hers about how to wash your hands and to be polite. So these tiny brains are far more adaptive than ours as adults. It's believed that children have more active neurons than adults do. And those neurons are firing like the speed of lightning. And I also want to point out that children are able to distinguish race between 2 and 3 years old because, again, their brains are so receptive. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not going to try to get into, big discussions about this, but I want to just kind of lay some groundwork for you. As children, there are two critical periods in our brain's development. First, around 2 years old, and there's a second around 7. Okay, so if this is a prime opportunity to lay a foundation for education with our kids. Again, going back to brushing the teeth, going back to tying the shoes, riding the bike, things we learned in those years that we have never ever forgotten because our brains were so ready and eager to learn. So children's brains develops in spurts called critical periods. The first around 2, the second around 7 years old. At the start of these periods, the number of connections between brain cells, the neurons, doubles. It doubles. So 2-year-olds have twice as many synapses firing in that brain than adults do. Okay, it makes me kind of feel a little bit less than right now, honestly. But because these connections between our brain cells are just firing so rapidly, it makes the children learn easier and faster than at any other time in their lives. Easier and faster than at any other time in their lives. That's huge. So children's experiences in this first phase of their brain development has lasting impact on their overall development. And those things that they learn stay with them. So imagine as parents, if we taught unconditional love and acceptance, actively taught that in the home, and that stayed with them throughout their lives. What a wonderful world it would be.
Judy, I just wanted to point out that while they're sponges, their brains are sponges and learning. I know at one point I was running back before I went back for my degree, I was running a children's music academy. And one of our selling points on the music academy is that children not only learn music well, starting at age 2, but math. And it's like, why didn't I start learning math at 2? Unfortunately, the other flip side of that is they also learn negative things from their parents starting at age 2. Parents think that children don't notice at age 2 what the parents are saying that may be very racist or discriminatory, but the children are absorbing. If they're absorbing all the great things like math and science and music, they're also absorbing some of the negative things that we sometimes as parents don't realize
that we're doing. Teresa, you make such a good point. Thank you for sharing that, because you're spot on. Because they're observing us, they're watching us, they're incorporating what we do, they're internalizing it. So they might never be able to say, I don't know where they learned something from, but you can bet money that they learned it from watching their parents, right? Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else have a thought, a feeling that they would like to share with the group right now?
Judy, it's fascinating to me to see this, because they are like sponges, they let the good and the bad, so we have to be so conscious of, what we say and, what behavior we model around them. So does this mean, so you're saying that children can start dividing people based on race as young as 2 years old?
Absolutely. So, Gabby, they're not going to be able to articulate that, but the science has shown us where they're able to distinguish those sorts of differences in people. So, if they in their unconscious are able to distinguish, and then mom and dad are saying something prejudicial, they're able to connect those things and recognize, oh, that's a bad person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if mom and dad are saying the inclusive things, oh, that's a good person, I have no reason to fear that person, right?
Yeah.
Like Teresa said, they absorb the good and they absorb the bad. So I just want to share with you this study that some of my students did a couple years ago when they were talking about themselves and things that might have occurred to them while they were younger. So of the respondents, 70% reported growing up in a diverse neighborhood. Okay, that sounds pretty good, right? But only 26% remember their parents ever talking about racism. So they might have grown up in a diverse neighborhood, but the conversation was not had on a regular basis. Only about a quarter of those families actually talked about it. Now, 89% feel like it's important to discuss diversity with their families. So look at the disparity in those numbers. 89% feel like it's very important, but only 25% of them actually had the conversation. And now 63% reported experiencing racial discrimination in their lives. 63%. That's staggering. Now, what's even harder to just kind of digest are some of these comments that we received in this study. And these are quotes from participants. My first discriminatory experience was linked to the color of my skin. I was too dark to be friends with the kids at school. My earliest memory of discrimination was when I was buying a dress for a school dance. My mom and I found a great dress, but then the cashier took it from me saying I should find something more in my price range. Kids would make fun of my dark skin tone at school. Now, picture your child. Picture someone excluding your child because of something like this, and how that would make you feel as a parent, much less what's going on in that little child's body and how they're feeling about that sort of rejection. But if through raising anti-racist kids, we're able to turn that around, where kids are embracing one another and they're learning from such a young age, that we embrace differences and we celebrate them, I won't ever see these comments again. So that's my hope. Any thoughts or feelings on that?
Judy, I have a 22-year-old daughter who is house sitting for somebody as a favor, getting paid a couple of bucks for a whole month. And she and my daughter and her boyfriend are going to be the ones house sitting. When the homeowner found out that my daughter's boyfriend is Black, she said, oh, that may be a problem for my neighbors. If the cops come over, I can explain.
Wow.
So that was really difficult. She's like, do I tell him or do I not tell him? It's been a big challenge.
Lily, that breaks my heart. And I'm thinking, the person that she's house sitting for, does she share these beliefs?
No, not at all.
So it's her neighbors that she's
Her
worried
neighbors.
about.
Mhm.
So
Well,
let
she's
me
not worried
ask
about
you,
the neighbors. She's worried about my daughter's
Yes.
boyfriend.
yes, like if a neighbor saw him and called the police on him.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this. What would be the anti-racist thing to do?
Go introduce themselves to the neighbors. Like we talked about different scenarios. Talking to Quentin, her boyfriend, having the owner talk to the neighbors, say, by the way, this is going to happen and it's perfectly fine. I mean, we even talked about, do we call the police department and say, if we get a phone call that there's a Black man in this house? And she's like, I don't know if that's anti-racist or just giving into their issues.
Yes, and it's hard because we don't know exactly what the neighbors have said to this person, but it's my hope that if they were to say anything overt, that she would stop them in their tracks and say, that is not okay. I take issue with what you're saying. I'm offended by what you're saying. And the idea of like bringing him over, it's kind of like, let me bring over my shiny new toy so you like it, therefore you don't say anything about it. And he isn't a shiny new toy. So it is a challenging position to be in. And there is reason for concern. But it would be my hope that she would say, I will not tolerate that behavior.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she won't be in town to say that to them. So that's
Right.
going to be the challenge. It's like, are they going to call the police department?
Let me know how that plays out.
So far, so good. It's
Okay.
been a couple of days. So far, so good.
Okay. All right. Okay, just a tangent, but I'm thinking about it because Black men have had to learn how to make themselves small, be overly friendly and less imposing in order to make other people feel okay. My son is 15. He's 6 foot. He looks like a big Black kid, right? And I've had to have that conversation with him because otherwise he might just come off as imposing. But if he is friendly and polite and outgoing and hunching his shoulders so he doesn't, feel so imposing, it might be a different story. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Lily.
Do you
Breaks
want
my
to
heart.
pause here so that we can announce our raffle winner?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So the first name that I've drawn is Lupita.
Lupita, where are you?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lupita. So Thea will reach out to you for your address and you'll be receiving a little package in the mail. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Thea.
I'm sorry, Judy Grant. May I ask the winners of the raffles if they could put in the chat maybe 3 things that they would like at an average of $50 to $75? Just a thought.
That's an interesting thought. 3 things that they would like.
On an average of $75.
Okay. All right. Let's see that. Let's see what those responses are.
It could be more interactive.
Yes. Okay. So let us move on from the study. So what is diversity exactly? It's defined by the inclusion or practices of individuals who have a range of different social, ethnic, cultural, and economic backgrounds. In addition, individuals of different genders, abilities, and sexual orientation can also be incorporated in that definition of diversity. When I look at the folks on the screen right now, I see a diverse population of people. I identify as an immigrant, Black woman. Gabby, how do you identify?
So I identify as a woman, Latina, immigrant, heterosexual. Yeah.
So you and I have some things in common, but we also have some things that are different.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of those differences?
What do I think about those? I think, I think they're beautiful, to be honest with you. Like, I was raised in a family where we were really open to different cultures. I really appreciate, those differences. So, it makes me curious and wanting to learn more, about where people come from.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabby. So let's think about how diversity can show up in our everyday life. The foods we eat, religions we practice, the clothing we wear, the music we listen to. Who does Taco Tuesday?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But we all, for the most part, we all love a good Taco Tuesday, right? I will make tacos for my family. I am not of that Mexican culture that really created the idea of tacos, and really it's become such a part of, every menu at every Mexican restaurant, right? But I love tacos. So I will happily bring in Taco Tuesday to my family, or, Taco Thursday or Friday or Saturday or whatever day of the week, because we
Tacos
love
are good any day. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but my point is, we can bring foods into our home that help to celebrate these different cultures. So I might eat tacos on Tuesday, and I might eat Chinese food on Wednesday, and then I'm going to have some Italian food on Friday. And so the foods we eat really help us to look at the diversity that's around us. And it's a really great way to introduce our kids to some of these cultural differences. What about the religions we practice? I can think of Catholicism. I can think of Judaism, Muslim, Christianity, and the list goes on and on. And I'm sure right here on this call, we represent a number of different religious practices. That is diversity. The clothing we wear, the music we listen to. Teresa, what kind of music do you like to listen to?
I honestly like all kinds of music. I really do. I enjoy everything. Because I was a music major years ago. And so I really appreciate all kinds of music, but I'm getting introduced more to, I think it's called techno, because even my kids are adults now. So they're like into different music, but I love to learn through music. I think it's really important to who we are and how we celebrate and how we even grieve. Everything is revolved around music. So, yeah.
So what you're telling us is that you have a diverse taste in your music,
Yes.
right? So Teresa's music represents diversity. The clothing we wear. So several weeks ago, my daughter was in a dance performance, an invitational, and there are dance academies from all over there to perform. And one troupe comes out, and they are a Mexican dance troupe. The ladies are in a beautiful traditional clothing. The music and even the fancy footsteps were all representative of their culture diversity. Any other thoughts?
Well, Judy, even like this past weekend, I attended a quinceañera, and even within, like, it's it for my best friend. She's from Mexico. But even in their traditions, in their dance, just how they incorporated, their culture into that tradition. It was so amazing, and it was so beautiful to see different music that, I don't typically listen to, but it was so nice to see it all come together in this beautiful ceremony.
Yeah.
And it's such a big part, such a big part of who we are and,
Right.
how we live our lives. So it was really nice.
And Gabby, as you're saying that, this past weekend I had the opportunity to attend a graduation party, and there was a mariachi band.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot of mariachi music, but I was there and I was watching the people as they were singing along and just getting into it, because this is such a part of their culture. It was a beautiful thing to see. So, but I'm kind of talking about these things, and you might be wondering, well, what does this have to do with our kids, right? But it has everything to do with our kids. If we're exposing them to these things at a young age, when all of those synapses are firing, they're better going to be able to be understanding and accepting of someone who might be practicing a different religion, who might be eating something from a different culture. Speaking of the food we eat, let's back it up in my personal history and talk about my mother making fabulous Jamaican food. And I'm the one kid at school with Jamaican food in their lunchbox, right? What American kid knows about, curry goat? But there I was having my curry goat and my rice and peas during lunch. And kids would be, Judy, what, that smells good. What is that? And I would explain, and can I have a bite of that? Can I taste that? Absolutely, you can, because those children were curious. They didn't look and say, ew, that's gross. They said, oh, what is that? Can I check that out? And I am so into the curiosity. Stay curious, ask the questions, be intrigued by something. I don't understand that religion. Can you explain that to me? Absolutely, I can, because through those questions, through that education, grows understanding. So this is where all of these things, while we might be posing some adult examples, these go right back to what we teach our kids. So how do we expose our kids to different cultures? Like we talked about, we can share different foods from different cultures. We can say, hey, on Friday, we're going to go to that new Indian restaurant. And then next month, we're going to visit that restaurant in Chinatown, and we're going to do it as a family, and we're going to try it. Oh, mom, I don't think I'm going to like Indian food. Well, you know what? We're going to go and we're going to explore and we're going to try the different foods. And it's okay if you don't like it, but it's important that you be exposed to it and that you try it, right? Encourage diverse relationships. So tell me, who are the kids in your class? Oh, so the new student is from Iran? Oh, that is so cool. Have you talked to him about what it's like to be from Iran? Encourage those relationships with your kids. Attend cultural events. In my neighborhood, not too far from me, there's a Greek Orthodox church, and they always have a festival, an annual festival. Take your kids, expose them to the music, the food, the dancing, the people, the language. Take your kids. How about museums, Gabby? What do you think of that?
I love that idea. I'm into museums. I love museums. I think it's a great way to learn, about just a variety of things, including cultures and, just people from around the world, and there's some great museums out in, the LA area, and sometimes they're free to get in. So they don't even have to cost you a lot,
Right.
so it's a great way to explore. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me turn to one of my parents here, Miss Claudia. Does any of this resonate with you? Are you, as a parent, are you trying to practice this with your daughter? What are the kind of things that you do in your home to be inclusive, to really teach her that we embrace each other's differences?
Well, I was gonna share that we actually decided to do, I don't know how long, it was a while ago, but still it was pretty cool. We got like a bowl and we put different countries in there. And so I have 16-year-old, a 22-year-old, and then
Which is actually Anila and me.
and then Lonnie. And so we each picked one of those countries, and we each had to cook a food
I'm
from that.
Wait, Alani, what did you cook, sweetie?
I like sushi.
You like sushi. Do you know where sushi comes from?
A sushi place?
You're right. You are spot on. It does come from a sushi place. But sushi originated in a country separate from the United States. Sushi originated in Japan. Did you know that? Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I love the fact that your mom and your dad are taking you to these places and that you can eat these cool foods. But it's really cool to really think about where they actually come from, right? Claudia, I love your idea about picking out different countries and everybody being responsible for cooking from that country. What a
Yeah, it
great
was
thing
fun.
to do as a family.
It was fun.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody else have any thoughts on how we expose our kids?
Oh my gosh.
I did the same thing with my children. My children are adults,
Mhm.
and they got to also pick a country and do all the food and everything, and it was good. And we stopped for a while, and that was way back before COVID. And then when COVID started again, we started getting back to it and saving the recipes that we really enjoyed. And my son was awesome at cooking, and my daughters. It was like we're trying to challenge each other and say, oh, let's try harder things to do. It was
Mhm.
great. We
Oh,
loved it.
that's awesome, Veronica. I love that. Thank you. And thank you for, the whole family getting involved and continuing that. And my guess is as they grow, maybe have children of their own, they're going to do something similar. Yeah, that's
Judy,
awesome.
you've given me a great idea. We've got our case aide for PFF and Commerce here.
Mhm.
And I don't know how good of a cook she is, but I think exposing some of our families at the family structured activities to do different types of food from different countries would be a fabulous idea. So Miss Stephanie, who's on here, That's gonna be really
Yeah,
fun.
that's a really good idea. Really
Yeah,
good.
she's on board.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. I love that. I love that, Stephanie. Yes, Lily,
And what we
great
do,
idea.
Judy, is we send the families that participated in our activities the entire thing that we're going to cook. We're not just showing them, they're gonna cook along with us.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what you could do, Lily, is you could wrap in some history. Where does this dish originate from? What's the meaning of this dish, et cetera, to really take an opportunity to educate the family. That sounds great. Can you send me the ingredients too when you're doing it?
I think you're gonna be invited to join us.
Absolutely. Okay. So some other
You-
things.
Did
Yeah.
you want to do our next raffle?
Yes, please, Thea. Absolutely. Drum
All right.
roll.
So our next winner is Michelle Salcido.
Michelle, congratulations. Where are you?
I'm here. Thank you.
All right. Keep an eye out. And like I said, Thea will reach out to you for your address. Okay. Okay. So some other things that we can do when we talk to our kids, let's talk to our kids about the differences that they see. Who's at school with you? Who's in the neighborhood? Who do you see on TV? Teach your children to embrace these differences. And I was thinking, where was I thinking this? Hold on. Oh, okay. So one of my thoughts was, and Gabby and I were talking about this before, was a new kid comes to school and maybe they are Jewish and you don't know anything about Judaism, but they're there and they're telling the class about Hanukkah and they've got a dreidel. And your kid comes home from school and says, yeah, Jimmy had this weird toy. I don't know what that was. I didn't like it. Wait, can you explain what it was that you didn't like about that? Well, it's something about, I don't even know, but I didn't like it. Well, sweetie, help me understand why you didn't like it. Well, I've never seen it before. Oh, well, just because you haven't seen it before, it doesn't make it bad. What you could have done was approach Jimmy and had a conversation about it. Can you tell me about that toy? What does that toy mean? How do you use it? Because imagine if you said to Jimmy, that's weird. How would Jimmy feel? But if you said, oh, Alani, you have your hand up.
Go ahead.
He was feeling sad.
Yes, Jimmy would feel sad. But if your child said, hey, Jimmy, can I play with you with that toy? Alani, how would he feel?
He would feel happy.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I could not have answered those questions better. Thank you, Alani. So I want to talk a little bit about some books and movies, TV shows, et cetera, that can really be a good resource for parents. But before I do want to share that Thea has a list of different children's books that she'll be able to send out to all of the participants if you're interested in stocking your library with these books. I personally love these books. Oftentimes, when you look at adult books about diversity, equity, and inclusion, they are really thick. You feel like you're back at school. You need to get your highlighter out because they're so intense. But oftentimes, adults makes things really complicated. So what we want to do is find a way to educate our children in a simple way that they will understand. And these children's books are great. And as a matter of fact, I use these children's books when I'm talking to adults as well, because they make it so simple and easy to understand that everybody can get on board. So a few of the books that I have here are Eyes That Kiss at the Corners. And this is a story about loving and celebrating the Asian-shaped eyes. Fry Bread, which was a gift from Miss Teresa Culver. Teresa introduced me to fry bread, and this is a story about a Native American family and the preparation of fry bread, the meaning of fry bread, and the eating of fry bread together as a family. The Proudest Blue. This is a story of a young girl who is just of age to start wearing her hijab out in public. She is so proud, and she finds this sapphire blue hijab to wear, and her little sister is so envious of her wearing this hijab, and the little sister just can't wait till she's old enough to be able to wear it herself. So these books really talk about embracing your cultural differences and being proud of them, but also acknowledging the differences among other people and really celebrating what that looks like. So in 2009, Disney released The Princess and the Frog. Who remembers that? Okay, so the first time we're seeing a Black princess, Princess Tiana. She's beautiful. We'd never seen her before. Tiana resonated with so many little Black girls, so many Black parents, because they were seeing themselves represented for the first time through a Disney movie. And we all love Disney, and we all love princesses. So this was really a pivotal moment. But I think it's important to note that Disney didn't stop there. We have Mulan, we have Pocahontas, and we have Jasmine, and the list goes on and on. So I really see Disney making efforts to represent all of our kids, not just one of our kids, but all of our kids, so they can see themselves, they can be excited about seeing themselves on TV, in movies. If you want to avoid the theaters, you can try PBS. PBS Kids, Blue's Clues, Sesame Street, because Elmo is a champion of all things inclusive. And there's Doc McStuffins. So a little story about Doc McStuffins. You'll see I have in parentheses Candy here. So my sister, her family name is Candy, but she's a doctor. She's a pediatrician. And for years, and she continues to do this, she has convinced a lot of her patients that she's Doc McStuffins. The eyes get really big and they don't believe her, but she's able to convince them. And one of the beautiful things is that they're seeing this Black woman as a doctor. They're seeing themselves represented. And just by being Doc McStuffins, she's letting them know that they're worthy and they too can do this.
Judy, I wanted to let you know, somebody put in the chat, her name's Cynthia. My 4 girls and I must have seen Princess and the Frog at least 5 times.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. And actually, after that movie came out, I remember one of my nieces, what do you want to be for Halloween? Princess Tiana? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Cynthia. Gabby, do you have any other resources that you might think would be helpful for our folks on our call this evening?
Yeah, Judy. Actually, I've seen some books called Little Libros, and they are in English and in Spanish, and they are meant for like a 0 to 5, child, but their topics are different countries around Latin America. They also have books on different people that are important to Latinos. They have like Frida Kahlo, they have Walter Mercado, who is like an icon in the Latino community. So they just talk about like these different people and these different countries in a way where it's going to be, something fun for parent and child to do. And it's in both English and Spanish.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Gabby. We might need to add that to our list, Thea, before we send it out. Stephanie, you and Elias, I'm wondering, have you seen some of these books or seen some of these movies? What have you two encountered in regards to these books and stories about inclusivity?
Hold on, sorry. Yeah, the little libros, we do have a couple of those. I believe the one that we have is El Chavo. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that show. It's really popular in the Latin community. And same thing, we have like a lot of other books also. What is the other one called? I forgot the name of it. But yeah, we are definitely, we like going to the library and getting a lot of books and also exploring a lot of foods as well. One of his favorites are sushi as well.
And
Sushi
And
Pookie.
pokey.
and pokey. Wow. So I love that you like exploring different foods, Elias. That's awesome. And the books that you read, that is super cool.
I kind of know how to read one book. Brown bear, look, you see.
Brown Bear, Brown Bear. That's a great book.
I can only read that one.
You could only read that one.
I can only read that one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
Judy,
you.
Michelle also added that she has little libros for her daughter as well.
Okay, so clearly we need to add this to our list. Yeah, I'm making note of that right now. Little libros.
Well, while you're making note, I'll go ahead and announce the next raffle winner
Awesome.
is Abigail Maldonado.
Congratulations, Abigail.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Okay. So you'll be on the lookout as well for a package that's coming to you. Okay, so let us move on. Okay, so I want to introduce you to Britt Hawthorne, and I kind of stumbled upon Britt from an author that wrote a book called Race Cars, and they did a Facebook Live event. It was Jenny Devaney, the author of Race Cars, with Britt Hawthorne, and Ms. Hawthorne is an anti-racism, anti-bias educator. And she really talks about how to address a lot of these things with our kids. So Ms. Hawthorne notes that we live in a racist society, and sometimes it's difficult to identify racism. So we must be open with our kids and talk about these things and ask questions so they can better understand what racism looks like. Tell our kids that racism is not a taboo subject. We can talk about this at home. We can talk about these things together. Tell them that their questions are welcomed and that they don't have to figure it out on their own. You, as their parent, can help them to do that. And remind them that you're learning right alongside with them. And through this, we get to raise these anti-racist kids. So Ms. Hawthorne came up with SHARE. SHARE. The S stands for say something right away. When you notice or see or hear your child doing something that might be prejudicial, ask the questions. Can you tell me where that came from? Help me understand what you meant by that. What do you feel when you say that? Ask the questions. H, help them to understand what they said, to continue the conversation. So do you realize that that might have been hurtful when you said that, or someone might have gotten sad when you said that? Help them to understand the impact of their words. A, ask for help from your parenting partners, from teachers, your partners, your doctors, et cetera, because as parents, you know, we don't know it all. We'd like to, but we don't. So you can ask for help. And so you can go to others and say, oh my gosh, my child seems to be struggling with X, Y, and Z. What would you do? How would you handle this? Because we know it takes a village to raise these babies. Repair the harm. Model how to repair with others or your children. So when you say something or do something that maybe doesn't feel great, come back and talk to your kids about it. You know what? I just need to talk to you about what happened earlier at the supermarket when mommy said something about that person who was in a wheelchair. You know, I'm really sorry that I made that comment. That was not okay. And I recognized that that wasn't okay, and that I wanted to let you know that it wasn't okay. Okay? Embrace the critical conversation. Encourage them to ask questions. What do you think? How do you feel that? Why do you feel that? Et cetera, et cetera. When we ask these questions and we prompt them with share, we can better raise empathetic children. Alicia, you've got your hand up.
Go ahead and unmute yourself, Alicia.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. No worries.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Judy. Thank you for this great training and wonderful comments. I was thinking this is more than racism. It is all inclusive by your definition and what you are talking about, which I am very happy to hear. And I wanted just to bring the attention to everybody. There is another group that sometimes is still debating or struggling in society, which is people that has been adopted, you know. And I'm a mother to adoption, and my daughter was faced with very difficult comments, you know, so very challenging comments by adults and by children, you know, and also foster children that are not living with her parents.
Mhm.
And what I will try to tell her, you know, is that she was, and I try to do it also as a cultural standpoint, is that she's an ambassador of what it means to be, you know, I'm Peruvian, what it means, she's Mexican, you know, what it means to be Mexican, what it means to be Peruvian, what it means to be adopted. I don't know if I was too demanding, but, you know, I think that who can speak better than themselves, you know, or just a little definition when they are little. They don't have to go with a whole kind of explanation, but kind of, oh, you know, we come from Mexico, we do this, we come from Peru, we do that. I am adopted, my birth mother is not with me, it's just my adopted mother, you know, and we love each other, you know, something like that, you know. And thank you for the time. And sorry I was late. I don't know how people is getting prices, but but that was cool. That's cool. So thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to bring that up. But
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
it's great. It's great.
Alicia, I think you make really good points, because Penny Lane, doing the work we do, working with our foster youth, they can feel excluded as well. So there are a whole host of discriminatory practices for kids in the foster system. And we need to be able to embrace that. And that's just another difference that we can embrace. It doesn't have to be looked at as something bad. It
Right.
simply is. It simply is.
Yeah.
So teaching our children that families look different and families are made up differently, and that every family in their unique familial structure is a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cynthia, you've got your hand up.
Yes, that just reminds me, yeah, what with working with children that are in foster care, there's a lot of bullying and a lot of discrimination. But it reminds me, your conversation, Alicia, I don't know if you all know, but if you don't know Sarah La Morena, you should look her up on YouTube. It's a wonderful story of an dark-skinned African-American baby in the system that was adopted by two lovely parents, Mexican parents. And they did such a good job with her. And she sings now, I love her music too, boleros. She sings to celebrate her love for her real parents. And I think about what they must have gone through, you know, with taking her in the neighborhood, taking her to school, but they were fighters. I mean, this is my baby, and don't you mess with my baby. Mm-hmm. So that what you said just brought that to mind. And, you know, one situation where love really won out. Mm-hmm. And so check it out. Her name is Sarah La Morena.
Sarah La Morena. Okay,
Sarah La
thank
Morena.
you.
She has great music, bolero style, typically.
Super.
Boleros, rancheros, everything.
Rancheros, you know
She's
her, Lily.
fabulous. I fell in love with her
Isn't she
and the
great?
story. But Alicia, I have to say, the fact that you're telling your children that you adopted as a young age and you're educating and you're supporting them to be able to speak against other people that will challenge them, that is so important. So thank you so much for sharing, Alicia. And yes, Sara La Morena is something else.
Gonna look
Okay.
her up.
And
Yeah.
she's beautiful, yeah.
We definitely have to look her up. Thank you so much for the comments. I really do appreciate it. Like I said earlier, it's this back and forth, it's this engagement that really creates the conversation and make it as robust as it is. So
Judy,
yes,
sorry. We have a comment in the chat
beautiful.
from, I don't have her first name, or Perez Maldonado. Says Netflix has different shows that demonstrate different episodes with the country's type of street foods, but it shows backgrounds of the participants. And this is something like a fun way to open the topic about different backgrounds. Something I would love to do with my kids since they are small, but it's on my list.
Oh, that sounds great. What do you know the name of the show?
I don't know it by top of my head, but I'll share in a moment in the comments. I'll share.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
All right,
that sounds
thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Excellent. Okay.
There's one on tacos, Judy. I think I've
Oh.
seen it on Netflix, and there's one on
Okay.
tacos.
Yeah.
A must
Okay.
watch.
So Ms. Hawthorne goes on to talk about being a role model, modeling behavior, model the conversation. So we know as parents, we are our kids' first teachers, but we need to model the behavior that we want our children to then express in their behaviors. So it's important to recognize that we can start doing this when they're really little. Because I think it was Teresa that said it, you know, they can absorb the good just as well, just as easily as they can absorb the bad. So let's be mindful of that. So between 18 months and 2 years old, the work is in modeling. Our children are observing us, they're absorbing our feelings and our actions. Our children are internalizing our actions. So if I hold my purse just a little bit tighter in the elevator when a Black man comes on and my child senses that and absorbs that, they're going to think that that is the norm. They're going to think that that behavior is okay. That's not to say that we can't repair that. So let's pretend that that happened earlier today. Mommy and daughter are in the elevator going to the dentist, and a Black man walks in, and you know, mommy holds her purse, squeezes her daughter's hand just a little bit tighter. When later mommy recognizes what she might have been, what message she was sending her child, she could have that conversation. You know what, sweetie? Earlier today when we were in the elevator, I did something that I really shouldn't have. And I want to talk to you about it so you know that it was not okay. When mommy just instinctively held her purse tighter because this man came into the elevator, I should not have done that because I need to treat everyone the same, and I should not make assumptions that he is there to harm us because he's a perfectly nice man. So be mindful of what we are modeling and how we're expressing that to our children. 4 to 5-year-olds understand the word fair, what it is to be fair, what it's to be unfair. We've all heard our kids say, that's not fair. I wanted the last Snickers bar and, you know, Jerry took it. So they understand this. So let's use this word fair to our advantage and help them think about situations that might not have been fair. So the example here is about Rosa Parks. We know what happened with Ms. Parks, how she in the civil rights era, she got on the bus and she was told because she was a Black woman that she had to go to the back of the bus because Black people couldn't sit in the front. She was exhausted and she just wanted to sit down. But they weren't having it, but she did not get up. So we can talk to our kids about this example. How do you think she felt? Let's imagine how we could have supported Rosa Parks in that moment. What would you say? Who would you tell? Allow your children to wonder and think about what it would be like to be her, and wonder about what they would say. I can see this bringing up all sorts of conversations in the home because they recognize that wasn't fair. She should sit wherever she wants to sit on the bus. Right? Does that make sense, Gabby?
That does. That does.
Okay. All right. And it's helping them to be in the shoes of somebody else that maybe they would not have otherwise even thought about. But let's put you in the shoes of Rosa Parks for a moment and think about that situation. There are also a whole host of wonderful kids' books about Rosa Parks that could help you with this conversation. So after age 9, our racial attitudes tend to stay constant unless we experience some altering life event. So imagine at age 9, our racial attitudes are already embedded. So imagine if those attitudes are of negativity and exclusion and hate. It's going to take a lot to change that person's perspective when they're older. But if at 9, our attitude is about unconditional love and acceptance and embracing one another, I have no words. That's exactly what we're looking to do. So we can help our children to re-examine these beliefs by shopping in different zip codes, going to different markets, trying different things, going to different places where they can see cultural events, museums, things that we've already talked about. So,
Judy?
yes, yeah, go for it.
Stacy put a comment in the chat.
Uh-huh.
It says, I am Chinese American and want to share that it's very important to also explore different Asian cultures so as to not lump them all together. Same can be said about other countries and ethnicities. My kids are Chinese American and we spend time talking about different Asian countries, where they are in the world geographically and how they are different, including different languages, values, traditions, and cuisines.
Wow, Stacy, thank you so much for, just bringing that to our attention. And you make such a good point. Because I think people do tend to lump people people from that part of the world all under this Asian category without really understanding the differences between. So thank you for sharing that. And I think it's very important to be able to talk about the different cultures because we're not all the same. Okay. We're not all the same. And we should be able to expose our children to those differences. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And Judy, I believe Ms. Perez Maldonado had a comment, and then
Yes.
Veronica has a comment. Yeah.
All right.
My comment was going to be during spring break, I took my kids and my mother-in-law to Chino Hills to the Hindu temple. A lovely place to visit.
Oh, wonderful.
Very nice.
That's great.
It is very lovely, and we got lucky enough to join one of the mass, and it was really nice. One thing to be advised, if you do go, wear pants. They do not let go with shorts inside the temple.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because listen, that's a cultural, belief.
Their belief, yes.
Right. So we want to be respectful of that.
During that week, was the Korean temple in San Pedro, a friendship temple.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm so glad that you're sharing those resources with us. The beautiful thing is we live in Southern California, and it just takes a minute on Google to find something new that we can share with our kids.
I was about to say that, Judy. It's, LA has so many different places to visit and, explore the city and, the different cultures, right, that are here in LA County. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Veronica, you've got your hand up.
Yes, since like I said, my children are older and I expose them to different foods and the cultures since they were little. And now that they're old enough to pay their own airfares, we have traveled to Italy, we have traveled to New Orleans just to try the authentic foods and then compare how, okay, let's get better at what we have tried before because the taste is different and we want to make sure we do it like authentic and learn more about getting more in tune with their culture and just everyone around. And we loved it so far. So hopefully this year we'll go back to New Orleans because we loved it so much. And we are planning to go to Japan hopefully next year. We had to postpone it, but so that's the way we expanded our culture from just cooking. Now we want to be able to explore the countries.
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Veronica, I believe that travel is our best education, and it really helps to expose us to different people and places and things, and to, you know, really be a part of it. That's awesome.
And just appreciate the way of their lives and how they go about their day, you know,
Absolutely.
and just mingling with everybody around, and it just makes it nice.
Yeah,
and
I
different.
agree.
And loving it more, you know.
For sure. Okay. Any other comments or hands up, Miss Gabby?
No.
Okay. All right.
We should pause for our next raffle winner.
There we go.
Yes, who is Emma Reyes.
Emma.
Ooh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Ooh. Thea, you get like all the fun stuff. You just get to jump in and award prizes. Everybody's loving you. Okay. So we are now going to listen to a story. This is story time. So for our parents that have their kids with them, gather them up and let's listen to a story. And for us adults, let's see what we learn from this, because we've got some questions to ask afterwards, okay? All right. This book is called Strictly No Elephants.
Judy, we're still seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay, wait. Let me stop sharing. Oh, sorry. Okay, so let me share again. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on.
The joys of the virtual world, right?
I know. Thank you. Sorry about that, everybody.
It's okay.
And just to let everybody know, Cynthia put in a link, and Ms. Perez Maldonado has put in some information on the Netflix series as well.
Okay, awesome.
In the
Thank you.
chat.
So, okay, can you see my screen now?
We're seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay, so let me. Okay, are you seeing a white screen now?
No.
No. Okay, so I think I need to do something else. So let me stop. Okay, so I have another idea. Sorry about this, folks. It worked earlier, I promise.
Can these Tesla solar panels give you free electricity for life? Did you know that you could get 20,744?
Okay, can you see now, Gabby?
No, we're still seeing the PowerPoint, but we could hear the sound.
Okay, hold on. Then this is what I'm going to do.
You just share your whole screen. I think you're choosing to only share the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
But when you click share screen, the first option that illuminates should show your entire desktop. So we'll see what you see.
Okay. Yes? No.
No, we're still on the PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So you're gonna stop sharing, and then you're gonna restart the share, and then go to the first highlighted screen, and then that'll let us see your desktop, and then you can go to different There we
you
go.
go.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for walking me through that, Gabby.
Yeah, no problem.
Strictly No Elephants. Written by Lisa Mantichev, illustrated by Taeyeon Yu. The trouble with having a tiny elephant for a pet is that you never quite fit in. No one else has an elephant. Every day I take my elephant for a walk. His is a very thoughtful sort of walk. He doesn't like the cracks in the sidewalk much. I always go back and help him over. That's what friends do. Lift each other over the cracks. Today, I'm walking my tiny elephant to number 17. It's pet day, and everyone will be there. Come along. There's a good boy. I coax him the last few feet. It'll be fine. When I look up, there's a sign on the door. Strictly No Elephants. My tiny elephant leads me back to the sidewalk, never minding the cracks. That's what friends do, brave the scary things for you. Did you try to go to the pet club meeting too? The girl asks. Yes, I say, but they don't allow elephants. The sign didn't mention skunks, the girl says, but they don't want us to play with them either. They don't know any better, I tell her. He doesn't stink, the girl adds. No, he doesn't, I agree. What if we start our own club? Come along, I say, making certain that my tiny elephant follows me, because that's what friends do, never leave anyone behind. We can play here, one of our new friends says. All of us. So we paint our own sign. All are welcome. My tiny elephant will give you directions if you need them. Because that's what friends do. The end. Thank you for joining Read With Me Fun.
Oops. All right. So I just want to break away from that. Hope you enjoyed Strictly No Elephants. And I just want to get some thoughts, some feelings on what happened there. What were you thinking when there was a sign on the door that said Strictly No Elephants?
You know what? I'm going to pause you there before we get into the discussion. I'm going to announce the next raffle winner.
Awesome.
Just get that out of the way. It's Alicia. She has won our next raffle.
You see, I won.
Nice, congratulations.
Congratulations, Alicia.
Thank you.
See, you put it out in the universe and it came to you. So what are your thoughts about Strictly No Elephants, the sign on the door? What did that story tell us?
You know, it could have said strictly no anything. No older people, no short people, no tall people, no, you know, it could have been strictly no anything. It's all about exclusion, excluding anyone, anything that doesn't meet the ideal of that club, right? Yeah, I think it's
Absolutely.
a great example for kids.
And it's so hurtful, you know, it's so hurtful.
Yeah, to look at the sign and like, oh my gosh, I can't bring my tiny elephant in there. They don't like my tiny elephant. They don't even know my tiny elephant, but they're making judgments about my tiny elephant.
Oh, I gotta say, Judy, anybody who knows me in my fetish for elephants, that would just I mean, elephants are everything for me, you know, and it could represent anything. I gotta go. I got a really boring homeowners association meeting that starts at 7, so I have to go. But love you all. Thank you so much, Judy, for this.
My pleasure.
Good
Cynthia.
information for my grandchildren.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Let me,
Veronica put in the chat. So adorable. Love it.
love
I
it.
love the story.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again just so we can see the discussion questions. Okay. Why were the boy and his tiny elephant excluded from the pet club? I think it's because they were different.
And maybe fearful. What is that elephant going to do? Because they don't know what elephants do, even tiny elephants, right? So maybe
Yeah.
there's actually fear.
Shiva?
It's perception.
Perception.
Yeah. So it's a pet club. So they don't see the elephant as a pet.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Right, because they probably had dogs and cats, right? They weren't welcoming the skunk or the porcupine. Where are my children?
Alani had to leave us. She had rehearsal.
Okay. And do we still have Elias here? Yes.
Yes.
Elias, did you like the story?
Go.
Oh, you're muted. Elias, did you like the story?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when excluded from the pet club, how does the boy react?
Sad.
Oh yeah, he's sad.
It makes a more club, more people.
Yeah. They decided to make another club that they could have more people and more pets, right?
And more other students allowed in the class.
Yes. Yes. So they made a club where everybody was welcome to join. And you remember the skunk, how they wouldn't let the skunk in and they said that the skunk was stinky. And the little girl and the boy said, skunk isn't stinky, because those people in the other club were making assumptions about the skunk. They had an idea of what the skunk would smell like and they just assumed without getting to know the skunk.
No.
Let's see. Do you think it is important to accept others that may be different from us? Why or why not? I'm going to call on an adult. Erica.
I think it's an opportunity to get to know someone different than you that otherwise maybe you wouldn't have known.
Yeah. And do you see, like I said before, like these children's books really make it very simple. Everybody can understand this. Everybody can feel the hurt for that elephant and the boy when they read that sign. And the elephant was so dejected, he didn't even care about the cracks in the sidewalk that he'd always been afraid of. He just didn't even care. So,
Judy, I think it's also like a great way to teach empathy, right? And to remain curious about, you know, other people, other things that we may not know of. So,
yeah. I think you're right. I mean, we do feel for the elephant. We do feel for the boy, the other little girl, and we can empathize with them because at some point, I'm guessing all of us have here on this call have been made to feel like the other. And we can all relate to this tiny elephant.
And Judy,
yeah,
I think it's also what you mentioned at the beginning, which is the anti-racist, which he did something with what he was given, right? And so he took that, which is a loss, right? Being excluded, and he turned it over and created something new.
Erica, thank you so much for pulling that in, because yes, he took action. He didn't simply say, oh, well, let's just go back home. He said, no, let's make our own club. And he took action. Thank you for bringing that up. That was perfect. So let me see. When the boy and his new friends start their own pet club, how is it different from the pet club he was excluded from? Michelle? Michelle, oh, there you are.
The difference was that they were inclusive. They included anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, I know that's what we promote here at Penny Lane Centers. I know that that's what I promote in my home. And that's what this little boy and his tiny elephant are promoting, just pure inclusivity and just unconditional love for one another. Any other thoughts or questions about Strictly No Elephants? Gabby, how about you?
No, I think it's a super cute story. I think it's a great way to introduce different topics, you know, with your kids. I was going to ask you, Judy, do you think it's an act of anti-racist to introduce those topics to your kids and maybe break some generational cycles, maybe not having those discussions, right? And now you are with your kids as you know, as they get older.
No, I am, Gabby, great question. And absolutely, just having the conversation, and actually just by us being here this evening, this is an act of anti-racism. We are taking action. We have a vision to create a world without racism. And so this alone that we're doing is definitely anti-racist. And we want to be able to, you know, continue to encourage that, whether it's at home or school, in our neighborhoods. Some time ago, after I took this position on, I was so fully ensconced in my reading and what I was saying every day about these topics. I had a dream where someone made a very offensive joke about the LGBTQIA community. It was a dream. In the dream, I thought, like, this is a good friend of mine, but I can no longer be friends with this person if they're going to be doing this. And in the dream, I approached that person and I was like very clear, like, that is not to be tolerated. That is incredibly offensive. I don't appreciate it. And I no longer want you in my life. And it was, I woke up kind of shook by this because I couldn't even handle that sort of offense in my subconscious. And I realized it was one of those moments for me where it's, Judy, this is taking over the fabric of your being. So even in my dream, I can't stay silent.
Yeah.
I have a comment, Judy.
Yeah.
When my oldest was in still elementary school, she said, Mommy, she's like, I told whatever person that was that I couldn't be their friend because they're gay and that you wouldn't allow that. And I was like, what? So I explained to her, I said, I don't want you to have any romantic relationship with anybody at this point.
Right.
But you may not know that you have friends and family members who are gay. And she's like, we do? And I was like, because I always thought, when is it too young to talk to our children about what's okay, accepted, not accepted? But she actually just thought that because I'm a really strict mom, that I wouldn't go along with that. And she became a huge, huge LGBTQ advocate. I started taking her to our EDGY conference. If anybody in this room does not know about our EDGY conference, you are all welcome. And it's a beautiful event, training that's going to happen, I think, in October.
October 13th, I think.
Okay. Years later, my youngest daughter is gay, and she had no problem coming out to me and saying, this is who I am. And she's been so happy ever since she was able to do that. So it's never too young. You know, the Florida issue with
Right.
don't say gay, that's just silly, because there are many children that have two parents that are men or women. So it's really not that young. I spoke to somebody very close to me, and they're like, well, then they may become gay. And I'm like, wait, so the gay kids had always heard, you know, straight mom and dad books, they're not straight. So that's just, it's really not, there's never really, it's an age appropriate thing. And at that point, when my daughter came to me and said, this is the case, then I
Right. And
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. It's age appropriate. So we find the appropriate language to address those things with our children when they're 2 versus when they're 17. It's a different conversation. But yeah, these ideas can get kind of lodged into people's minds. Shiva.
Sorry. So I wanted to say something. I have observed for about an hour and almost 2 hours. One thing that you guys need to understand is we didn't talk about stereotypes. We didn't talk about preconceived notions. What if that club, No Elephants Are Allowed, was because of the stereotypes surrounding elephants? When I came here as a refugee about, 43 years ago, when I started high school, the first thing they said to me was, how many camels did you have? None. It was a country. What you see on the news is negativity regarding different races, different cultures. Don't expose your children to that. When you go to movies, you only see Iranians. I don't say I'm Iranian, I say I'm Persian. I'll tell you why I say that. You see Iranians as terrorists. You don't see them as doctors. Now you are, because if you guys have watched Chicago Med, they actually have a doctor who's Persian. The reason I don't identify as Iranian, I say Persian, is because after the hostage crisis, which happened in 1981 or 79, sorry, we were targeted as Iranians. And a lot of people didn't understand why we were here. Well, we left that country because our lives were in danger. I'm not Muslim, but I had to live in a Muslim country. I'm Baha'i, and Baha'is are being persecuted in Iran and put to death. So my father was one of those people that they were after. Therefore, saying I'm not Iranian, I'm Persian. Nobody knew where Persia was. Nobody had any idea. My son's second grade teacher asked me, where are you from? I said, I'm Persian. She goes, oh, isn't that a country in Eastern Europe? Sure it is. This is a teacher. Didn't know where Iran was or Persia was. So remember, stereotypes. If we have those stereotypes, our children will adopt those stereotypes. If we start to look at the news and the events and see, oh, this person did this and that person did that, and they're from a different culture and they're from a different race, the kids will pick that up. Don't expose them to that. They're too young to be exposed to such an ugly thing. It's really not something. And not only I had to endure racism here and discrimination in this country, land of free, I had to do it in Iran too, when I was going to school, because I'm not Muslim. So if you're not Muslim, it's actually written in Quran that you can be put to death. So we had to fear for our lives as children until we left that country, because it was the Islamic Revolution. So I just wanted to give you that synopsis. And thank you for that, for the time that you just gave me.
Shiva, and thank you for that, for sharing a bit of your story and the challenges that you have had to endure as a result of, you know, prejudicial, racist, judgmental assumptions, all of those horrible things. And, you know, I agree, we don't want to bombard our children with these negative images or these ideas, but we can also use them as a teaching opportunity if they do come into contact with that sort of stuff. As a parent, you can pull them aside. I need to explain to you what we just saw. Okay, again, you're their first teacher. They're going to hear it from you. They're going to trust what you have to say. They're going to believe you. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stacy has made quite a few comments. Stacy, do you mind if we share them, or do you want to share them? She's really been very active in the chat. Do you want me to read them, Stacy?
Yeah, if you can. I'm outside right now, so it's kind of loud.
Okay. Okay, no problem. She said, let's see, if we go back up here, let me open it, because she went, I don't know. I lost it. Okay. Gabby, can you see where,
Yeah,
let's see, she
I'm
started?
I'm scrolling up. Let's see. It says, she addressed the story, I guess. So Stacy said, I wonder if there was an anti-racist thing the boy could have done to address the sign.
In the moment.
In the moment. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then regarding Lily's comment, she said strict mom equaling not accepting. Wow, have to be careful with that perception kids might adopt. And then but as we've been talking about, it's having an open conversation about the differences that will help children learn to be anti-racist and also know where their parents stand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stacy, thank you for sharing in the chat. We do appreciate your input, your comments, and just hearing your voice. So thank you.
Judy, I have an example from my grown children. They were in junior high and high school, and we're Native American. But you look at my 6'1" Caucasian short-haired son, and you just assume Caucasian, right? So they were at a restaurant. I took them to Oklahoma for the summer when I was in grad school to work at the Cherokee Hospital. And they went to lunch, my older and younger son, and they were sitting at this table in Oklahoma, and there was these older men there talking about those damn Indians. They're always drunk. You know, they just need to get out of here. And my son, who's very educated, even in high school, was saying, wait, these are Native American lands, you know, because in Oklahoma, they don't have reservations, they have native lands. And so they're sitting on native land saying they need to get out of here. And it was such a good lesson for him, because he's just frankly not going to experience a lot of racism or discrimination because he looks like a Caucasian male. And that's just the reality of it. But what an amazing lesson that he was able to get, and that we got to have a really good conversation with later.
Right. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Teresa. And your boys were younger when this happened. How could we have made that into an anti-racist moment?
I think if he were, well, you know, now he supports the Southern Poverty Law Center. He's out there with it, just like Lily's daughter has grown up to be an advocate. So has my son. But at the time, I was just really grateful that he came to me with this story. And he goes, I just don't get how they can be discriminating, period, but much less on Native lands. But he just, you know, and he goes, they're never going to. And he goes, I wonder if somebody who appeared to be Native was sitting at the table, if they would have said the same thing. I said, sadly, they probably would have. You know, this was in the 90s. So sadly, they probably would have.
Yeah, they wouldn't have cared who the audience was.
Yeah, but because we had the discussion, and that's my point for parents, is that because we had that discussion, because it was more than just a passing thing, it really affected who he became in life. And I'm very proud of him. Very proud of him.
Well, thank you for sharing that story.
Judy.
Clearly you did something right because he felt comfortable to come to you and talk about it. Yes, Shiva.
So, you know, the question remains, what can you do in the moment to make an anti-racist action? Sometimes you can't.
Well, you know what, Shiva, I think you're absolutely right. I think you need to
assess the situation.
You need to absolutely assess the situation, because we don't want to go into a situation that's going to put us in harm's way. Right? So who's around me? What's going on? Where am I? Thank you so much, Stacy. And you're absolutely correct. Assess the situation and you make a determination if this is an appropriate place for you to be able to stand up to be anti-racist, because we do not want you to put yourself in harm's way, and nor do we want to teach our children to put themselves in harm's way.
Yes, and then the other thing is maybe having children who can speak up at least to their parents and object to what they have heard or what they have seen or subjected to will allow them to experience that and then grow up to become more, you know, to become advocates.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Lily.
It's a real simple thing that I don't know if the being a strict mom was taken in the wrong context, but teaching your children from a very young age to order their own food. What do you want to eat? Communicate that. We just went out to dinner with my friend's son, who's like 16. He wants to have a girlfriend, but he couldn't order his own dinner at a restaurant because mommy had to do it for him as he was on, you know, his phone. Like those simple things, like let them speak for themselves, even at a young age, to order their own food and what they want or don't want, what they want to wear to school. At a certain age, the girls dressed the way I wanted them to dress. And at a certain age, I was like, it doesn't match, but it's your choice. So that gives them an opportunity to have their voice heard and to feel that they're important, what their opinions are.
Have some control.
And have some control.
Yeah. Thank you, Lily. Yeah, no, we definitely want to encourage their voice, encourage them to talk to us about these issues. And maybe they're not in a good place where they can demonstrate anti-racism, but if they come to us even after the fact and say, okay, mommy, this happened at school today. I don't know what to do. This didn't feel good. And having that conversation and maybe helping them to figure out, like, well, what could we do in this situation? And we can always go back. There's no harm, no foul if our child goes back to school the next day and says to Susie, I didn't like that you said that about Mary. That wasn't okay. So, you know, empowering them with the power of their own voice. Thank you.
Judy, Veronica added in the comments, empower them to voice their opinion. And also our children are a reflection of us.
Absolutely.
And one more thing I wanted to mention is that sometimes you have to start even at a young age. When I teach infant massage, I tell the parents, tell your child, is it okay if I massage you? Even though the child's not going to answer, but you're already empowering them to be able to say yes or no. Who comes into your bubble? Who's going to be around? Who comes close to you? Who are you going to allow close to you. So it's important to empower them as young as babies. Start talking to them like Lily was mentioned. Was it Lilia? They mentioned even asking, what would you like to eat? Such a simple little thing. And even very young, they might not tell you, but they can point. Do you want, you can say, would you like spaghetti? Would you like a French toast? Would you, whatever. But at least you're having that conversation with them. So empowering their voice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am so pleased with the conversation. I'm so thankful that all of you chose to share in the chat, raising your hand, what have you, because it's this that makes it, right? I could lecture, I could go through that whole PowerPoint, but if I don't have any sort of engagement, it's not going to be half as impactful as taking the time to hear from each and every one of you. So I do want to thank you for that. Do we have any other questions? It is 7:24. We have a few more minutes, so I just want to check in with everybody to see if there are any additional questions or thoughts. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
again,
did we have one more raffle?
Oh,
do we have one more
yes.
raffle, Thea?
Yes, we have
Great.
one more raffle, and the winner is Stephanie Arsenica.
Yay!
Congratulations.
All right. So Stephanie and
you.
Elias will enjoy a little care package from Amazon.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for being here, for taking the time. It's, smack dab in the middle of homework and dinner, but you still all made the effort to be here. And I really, really do appreciate that. You just zooming in and being a part of this is an act of anti-racism. The fact that you're eager to learn and wanting to figure out how to move forward with our children, with our clients, in our communities, in our homes is really, really important. And I'm just very, very grateful for each and every one of you and for you being here and being as engaged as you were. So I really want to thank you. I want to kind of ask somebody to wrap this up for us. You've heard plenty from me. Teresa Culver, can you wrap this up for us and bid everyone a lovely evening as we depart?
I agree. Thank you for being here, everyone. I know it is kind of hard with dinner time and times, but it's so important, these discussions. It's so important that we educate. I wish some of this education came when my kids were little. They're all grown now, and I'm not a grandma yet. But I think it's really important. And one thing that we've talked about in our diversity trainings that all Penny Lane staff go through is that if we don't know, then ask, right? I've learned so much by asking people, oh, tell me what it's like to be from your country and what were your cultures. And it's just fascinating, that curiosity and caring at the same time. Put caring with your curiosity. So thank you everyone for being here. I think we've all learned a lot. And I appreciate that you were here and that you joined Penny Lane for this very important conversations. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Have a
Thank you.
great
Have a good
night.
evening.
Thank you.
Is it just the four of us now?
Yeah, I was about to add that too.
Seriously, seriously.
Let's stop recording.
So good. Oh my gosh.
Thea, can you
Lily
stop
was like
recording
going,
for us, please? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Lily was going, we've got to get this out there. Definitely, we need to sponsor